Hello and welcome to the Listening Post's unboxing channel on YouTube. Today I'm revisiting an unboxing video on the Elac ConneX active bookshelf speakers. Now these are the DCB41s, that's their model number, right? Pretty boring. But the ConneX bookshelves are absolutely stunning as far as an alternative to an awful soundbar with a nice stereo image and a wonderful, wonderful sound. The reason I'm revisiting these is simply because now they're available in orange, and I'm really excited to be able to share such an awesome colour option. Elac has opted to introduce some colours, like the blue that you would have seen in a previous video, the walnuts that were in the photographs as well, and of course black. But to see blue and orange being utilised means we can just it can be a little bit funky, a little bit more fun in a living space or a lounge or whatever it might be. So it's wonderful to revisit these and share them in such an awesome colour. Okay, so the box. The packaging is screen printed with lots of information associated with the speaker itself. It's a boring brown box. Elac logo, model numbers, some information about some feature sets like their X bass. Now that actually works. They use an EQ or a DSP curve to kind of maximize the performance at the bottom end without letting it distort. So many other products, of course, you turn them up and the bass just sounds awful. At least they're managing that. Don't get me wrong, a massive floor standing speaker is always going to sound much bigger, but it enables you to offer a little bit more performance than perhaps the modest physics offers. There's an HDMI for an audio return channel. There's an optical digital input. There's a USB. By the way, the USB is like 96 kilohertz, 24-bit, so it's by no means a slouch, and certainly geared up for some of the near-field monitoring situations where you might see them with a computer or a laptop. It's got Bluetooth with aptX and a Phono input as well. The top of the box is sealed closed with some tape. There's scannable information associated with the serial number and the colour options which are ticked. Then an emulation and then some packaging and freight information. Opening these, really straightforward as always. A simple nick and tear the top of the box open. What you see in the top of the box is an emulation of the inputs that you could utilise, including Bluetooth, and it's under here that we see the accessories. Now these have a single active and then a single passive speaker, one with all the inputs and control and the other one to give the opposite channel. So it only requires one power cable, and that's a figure 8 New Zealand power cord. The accessories, again, if you need a detailed idea of what this is, follow the link to the other unboxing. We're just revisiting these after all. Plastic bag. We've got a series of bump-ons, those little 3M rubber feet to help eliminate vibration and keep them solid on a surface. Quick start guide. Another set of bump-ons. That's the speaker cable, by the way. It's 2 or 3 meters long between the two speakers. An alternative power cord. This one looks to be European. Set of AAA batteries. Elac's remote control, which by the way, now that I've had a really good opportunity to have a play, is better appointed than I thought initially and much easier to use. And a basic HDMI cable, which doesn't need to be wonderful because it's only the return audio out of a TV. Probably rolling them over is the easiest at this point. Lift them up. Okay. Check the box. Get rid of the polystyrene. And at this point, because we're going to revisit things, we'll put one off to one side and take the main speaker out. The speaker is protected with a plastic bag, and the finish is further protected with a piece of that classic bubble paper. Now the speaker is this awesome burnt orange colour, really good to see, adding again a little bit of pizzazz to their speakers. There's a traditional grille with 4 little pegs and a very even honeycomb design to ensure that the grill itself is not going to flap around. The speaker uses Elac's own driver technology with a tweeter and a mid-bass driver, and this one, being the sort of active one, has the IR sensor for the remote control. There's an Elac logo and an embossed silver plate. These speakers aren't very big. They're designed to perhaps replace a basic soundbar or something very modest, but with the fact that these have a 4.5-inch mid-bass driver, and we'll get the frequency response is sort of 50 to 25 kilohertz, so it's by no means a slouch as far as something so compact. So great frequency response. It's at the back, I guess, that all the connectivity happens, and we've got a figure-8 power cord. We've got the speaker output to go to the next speaker. Now it's worthwhile mentioning that there is a switch just by the controller, which enables you to set this as a left or right configuration. Now that's kind of unique. You're not forced to put the speaker in a particular location associated with its configuration. You can put it where it's near the power cord, or where it's neat and tidy for the connections, or maybe there's a short cable you need to allow for its inputs, and then click and say, hey look, this is going to be the right speaker, or it's going to be the left speaker, and do that with a little switch. So this is universal associated with the placement of the second speaker. Looking at some of the other features, we've got a phono input, except instead of restricting you specifically to a turntable, we've got the ability to turn that off and on. So if you've got a turntable that already has a phono preamp on board, or you want to use this as a traditional stereo input for a more traditional source, then you can turn the phono stage off. Beside that, we've got a subwoofer output, allowing you to add any number of different subwoofer options, a traditional Toslink optical input, and the asynchronous USB. Above the phono input, we've got a ground. Above that, we've got a USB. Now this is for software updating and to provide power for potentially charging a phone or something along those lines when you're using it in Bluetooth. We've got the switch that I mentioned about left and right configuration, and we've got this multi-jog sort of controller. In a neutral position like this, turning it adjusts the volume, but tapping it will change the input, and when the lights flash on the front to indicate what you're doing, in Bluetooth input you push and hold and it goes into pairing mode. So they're using this for a multi-function, not just a whole series of switches and things at the back. And that's the HDMI input for the audio return. Putting that off to one side along with its grill, we're going to have a look at the other one, and again hang around for some photographs. I love showing these speakers off. And there's the other speaker, obviously protected with the same poly paper and plastic bag. Now this speaker, and the reason I've showed it to you this way of course, is it's just a passive speaker, and one of the caps is missing or never put in. The back is a painted finish, and all it needs is the inputs that we see, ready for the speaker cable that they've provided. Again, exactly the same form factor as far as its depth. The only additional depth required, of course, is for the inputs and outputs associated with the active speaker. Spinning it around and taking the grill off briefly, we'll see that there's no IR sensor or anything, because of course this is the passive version. Paired up, they look awesome and they sound superb as well. So there we have it. Elac's orange version of their awesome new ConneX active bookshelf speakers. Revisited and unboxed here at the Listening Post in Christchurch, New Zealand. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, subscribe to our channel.